In this video, I'm going to be talking about handstands on beam. Now, I want you to remember, my name is Raleigh Carter. I've been coaching for over 25 years, and I'm making these videos so that you don't have to make the same mistakes I have made time and time again. So, my passion, my energy, my intensity, my sense of urgency is directed to those coaches who are newer because I do not want you to suffer like I have suffered coaching with trial and error. If you have your systems, your processes, you've been doing this for a while, just ignore my energy. Sometimes people find it offensive. It's all good. But the reality is I'm talking to you coaches who are starting out, you're a few years in, and you're like, maybe I want to make a career out of this. I am telling you, you do not want to go down the path of annoyance where you're just banging your head against the wall, dealing with the same stupid problem over and over again, and not really finding a solution. You want to figure out how to get to high-level gymnastics as quickly as possible, as safely as possible, and that's why I'm making these videos. So let's just dive into this crazy topic of handstands on beam, which really has nothing to do with handstands at all. It has everything to do with confidence. Now, before I'm going to show you my first slide, I want you to think about this for a second. Why are people in general better on trampoline than they are on balance beam? That's the question. Why are people better on trampoline than they are on balance beam? Think about that for a second. Because there's a key correlation here that gets overlooked, and it gets overlooked because, I'm telling you this straight out, gymnastics business owners do not care about trampoline as a global generalized whole. Most gyms do not put an emphasis on buying trampolines. They don't. Very few gyms have 4 trampolines inside the gym and make it an actual rotation and event for all their gymnasts. It's very rare. Now, top level gyms that produce high level athletes, probably a lot of them have trampolines in them. There's a correlation there. But for the most part, if you're new to coaching and you do not understand the importance of trampoline and the emphasis of trampoline, you're not going to be able to connect this dot over to balance beam. And so what's going to happen is you're going to struggle on balance beam and not know why you have such high inconsistency because you've never understood the importance of trampoline. And this is what I'm going to explain to you. So we're going to get a little bit cerebral, heady in here, but we got to understand this before I really show you how to unlock balance beam on a very simple level, which is just handstands. The reason why trampoline is so easy is because the frequency an athlete is allowed to use the trampoline is much higher than balance beam. If I climb up the balance beam, that takes time. I do something on the balance beam maybe once or twice, and then I fall off the balance beam. There's a low frequency of turns. So the only way I can have a higher frequency of turns on balance beam is if I hold myself back. I do not try as hard as possible. I don't jump as high as I possibly can. I don't do as difficult skills as I possibly can, because every time I try to do something harder, I'm likely to fall off, which lowers my frequency of turns, of familiarity to the surface. Now, trampoline, you can actually make lots of mistakes on trampoline and you still get to bounce on it. It doesn't bounce you off of it. For a lot of it, trampoline is very forgiving. And so the reason why we get so much better at trampoline is because it is so forgiving. We can make so many mistakes and we still get to use the surface. It doesn't kick us off right away. But with balance beam, you do not get a high frequency of turns at max effort. Every single time you do max effort when you're new to it, max effort will likely lead to lack of balance and falling off. So here's the correlation. If high frequency of turns increases confidence, which it does, then wouldn't we want to make balance beam focused on high frequency of turns first before we focus balance beam on difficulty of skill? I'm going to say that again because this is the unlocking factor of if you want to get double back handsprings connected, you want to get layout step outs, and you want to teach real gymnastics on a balance beam, it's coming down to this key point that I'm explaining right now. High frequency of turns equals confidence, which is why trampoline people are far more successful. It's forgiving so that you can have a higher frequency of turns. Balance beam is not as forgiving because if you do max effort on balance beam, you're likely to fall off, lowering the number of turns you're going to be taking because of literally time. Falling off the beam, climbing back on the beam, trying again. Takes time. I can do more turns on a trampoline in the same amount of time as somebody else is going to do on a balance beam. I will literally just get more reps in. So trampoline has a higher frequency of reps, higher frequency of turns compared to balance beam. That's the reason why balance beam has a lack of confidence. Usually when newer coaches go to balance beam, they are focused on difficulty of skill, not confidence of surface. So what I'm going to show you is how you unlock confidence on beam and how confidence leads to skills. Again, trampoline learning skills is fairly easy because the confidence is already there. Balance beam skills is learning skills gets sticky. It gets much more challenging because there is a lack of confidence already built into the system. So what do you have? Usually you have more fear issues on balance beam than you do on a trampoline because balance beam has a lack of confidence. I know I'm harping on this, but you really need to understand the importance of how the gravity essentially of how this concept, once unlocked and trained into your athletes, no skill is difficult on balance beam. Balance beam becomes easy, just like trampoline. It's like you go to beam, and at one point you're like, man, how am I ever going to teach a kid how to do a front tuck on a beam? Like, that seems impossible. Or how am I ever going to get a double back handspring connected? It just there's so much tension with the fear of missing hands and connections and all the attitude and all the avoidance and all the whatever that comes along with it, right? And then all of a sudden you go to competition, you see these girls and they're just killing beam. And you're like, man, how do these girls do such a good job on beam? How do they look so confident on beam and look like they don't put up a struggle in learning? And you're sitting there with your girls like, I can barely get them to do a cartwheel. And this girl's doing a back handspring layout step out and she looks like she's 10 years old. And my girl's 15 and she doesn't even want to go handstand and vertical. It's nothing to do with the skill. Everything to do with confidence. Everything to do with confidence. So this is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you 3 simple things that develop confidence on it getting inverted on a beam that will translate to back handsprings, which is really what we care about, because who cares about handstands? Handstands are stupid. Okay? You're going to take offense to that. People are like, oh, handstands are the most important thing you possibly do. They're not, actually. Nobody understands anything about gymnastics anymore. I think most of the people who understand anything about gymnastics, they must have all died. There's very, very few people who actually understand how to do the sport of gymnastics, and we'll get into that later. But boy, from traveling the country and learning from some of the top minds in the industry and listening to these people, it's like there is such a small number of human beings on this planet who actually understand the sport of gymnastics, actually understand it. Anyways, let's dive into this. There's 3 hand positions you need to know about on beam. 3, okay? You have the handstand back walkover hands position. It's kind of like this. Some people will put their fingers in and forwards. They'll do this so they have more thumb and finger action to be able to press into the handstand. But for the most part, it's like this. Some people call it like a butterfly. Your thumbs are friends. They want to stay together, and you're putting your hand on the beam. That's the handstand back walkover kind of positioning. Okay, then you have the back handspring positioning. This is kind of more like puzzle feet, as people would term it, but it's puzzle hands. If I'm doing you want the opposite hand of the foot, if I remember correctly. So if I'm right-footed, I'm going to be throwing back handspring this way. If I'm left-footed, then I'm going to be throwing back handspring with my right hand in front. It seems correct, but my brain is crooked right now. So your hands essentially land in a back handspring the same way they would land in a cartwheel. So essentially, when you do a back handspring on the out, if you're landing with your right foot first on the beam, you want your right hand closest to your right foot. That is typically what you would want. So that's how it has to line up. So yes, you would be throwing your whatever hand first. I may have said that wrong, so we'll figure that one out later. Cartwheel hands, sideways. Sideways hands, okay? Round off hands, not T. The whole turning the hand in T thing, don't waste your time and energy. It's important, it's valid, but you're going to see cartwheel hands show up far more. I've seen girls do back handsprings with cartwheel hands and be successful with cartwheel hands and back handsprings with connections. And at the end of the day, again, when you're going to high-level gymnastics, I mean, go watch the videos. Girls do back handspring hands and all sorts of different variations. And so if you think you're going to spend 6 months trying to train correct back handspring hands, you're just wasting your time. You need to have safe positioning, but really it comes down to confidence. But you're going to see a lot of crazy arm positions, even dangerous hand positions at the highest level. And so again, you need to just understand where to put your time and energy. Okay, so here's the first thing. Okay, you kick up into a handstand, you leave your hands on the beam, you leave your feet on the beam, you start in that piked position, and then you just kick up to a handstand and land back on the beam. You do it 10 times in a row. If you cannot do it 10 times in a row, you don't have confidence. You do it 10 times in a row on both sides of your leg. So right leg kicks up 10 times in a row, left leg kicks up 10 times in a row. And you do it with both hand positions. You do it with back handspring hand positions, and you do it with handstand hand positions. You do it back handspring hand positions both sides. So if I'm doing my left footed, I'm going to do it one way. If I'm doing my right footed, I'm doing it the other way. Really doesn't matter. You can mix all the hands up and do it as many variations as you possibly can, because we're building confidence. We're building confidence through repetition. So it's 10 times in a row, each side, hand positions. Simple. You just do that. Now you're going to think, Raleigh, this is dumb. Where's my lever? Where's my all my other? Again, we're getting confidence. If I put a lever in here, the kid's falling off, wobbling, wiggling. This is all about getting your center of mass down into the beam, starting it from a controlled position, starting with hands staying on the beam, and they stay on the beam, and they stay on the beam. What are kids afraid of when they do back handsprings? Oh, I don't know if my hands are going to land on the beam. What if my hands slip? Right, because we don't have enough time spent with our hands holding the beam, building confidence in it. So this is, you never pick your hands up. And you will notice that when you tell kids to do this, they will pick their hands up off the beam. Do not pick your hands up off the beam. Leave your hands on the beam. So important. You need to understand to leave your hands down. Too often kids are standing up too early out of their skills, and that's why they're falling off the beam. They come out of a cartwheel, they stand up really fast. Nope, that's why you fell. Back walkover, stand up really fast. That's why you fell. Back handspring, stand up really fast. That's why you can't connect. You can't connect because you stood up and now you have nothing to throw with. So now you have no connection. You don't know how to stay down. This teaches you everything you need to know to how to connect. So we're thinking bigger while doing very simple because we understand the path, the trajectory. Let's move on. You do this one. Start in the same position, kick up to a side handstand, and return back to the same position. It's just working on the side handstand position. Raleigh, I don't know how to teach a cartwheel. You do that. You do that. You kick up sideways, and then you come back down. And then you do it on both sides. Now you've done a cartwheel. You've done a cartwheel because you've kicked up quarter on both sides, and now putting it together is not really going to be that complicated. And our hands are staying on the beam sideways the entire time. We're kicking up with our hands staying sideways. We're going all the way back down with our hands staying sideways. We're getting lots of reps and lots of time with our hands being in the proper position. Again, you do it 10 times in a row. If you can't do it 10 times in a row, I'm just letting you know, one, if you're a coach who does not say, you have to do it 10 times in a row, you're being lazy. Okay, and you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. If your athletes can't do it 10 times in a row, they don't have confidence. They don't have consistency. When I wake up out of bed and I go and walk, I don't go wake up out of bed and go, oh, did I forget how to walk? I don't know if I can take 10 steps in a row. Everything I have confidence in, I can do 10 times in a row, easy. So the fact that you don't require somebody to do something 10 times in a row is out of your own greed of wanting more of something without confidence, which is just literally asinine, but it's real. People want so much, but they have no confidence to get it. And it makes no sense. 10 times in a row, that's what you should be able to do. Easy. Just easy. You give me any level 10 and I say, hey, try this thing. They've maybe, let's say they've never done it before. They might wobble or wiggle the first few times, then they'll figure it out. And then bam, they could just do it 10 times in a row. Ding, ding, ding. It's simple. Because their confidence level is so high, they don't have to worry about all the nuances because they have confidence. It's built into the system. So that's what it is. It's 10 times in a row, both sides. Okay, the last thing is you actually do a cartwheel, leaving your hands on the beam. You start with your hands on the beam, you leave your hands on the beam, and you do a cartwheel, and you go back and forth both sides. So you go right and left and right and left. You could do 10 total, or you could do 20, so then it's 10 on each side. But again, the more numbers you put in more consistently, the more everything gets easier. And that's the simplicity of everything else. That's it. There's three things. There's multiple hand positions, and you need to get high volume and reps there. Simple as that. Now, if you can't kick up to a handstand perfectly, then great, you go to 45. What's beautiful about this drill is any kid who's afraid of going to handstand can still do the drill to handstand because they could just hop their foot 10 times in a row. Leave their hands on the beam, hop, 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 10 times, good. Do the other foot 10 times, great, great, great. Then eventually it's hop, touch your feet together, hop, touch your feet together 10 times, then it's switch. This is all stuff that anybody can do. And even your level 10s who are falling off the beam and standing up early can still do this drill as a good warm-up. It's going to build their shoulders. It's going to get their arms stronger. It's going to focus on keeping their head in, ears hidden by their arms. It's going to focus on getting reps and cardio. I mean, this is stuff that just anybody can do, and it's very productive because it's repeating the same hand positions that they're going to be using for all of their tumbling. Because if they're going to be doing back handsprings, they need to get reps in with proper hand positions. If they're going to do round-offs or cartwheels, proper hand positions. So this is already helping build everything they're going to be doing, and it's just a high volume of reps. No different than going to a trampoline. You're going to get, I mean, if I took a kid who can do double backflips on floor and I said, go to trampoline and show me 10 back tucks in a row, back tuck, back tuck, back tuck, they wouldn't have a problem. That's what we're trying to get to, the confidence on beam. That's what you need to be chasing, is confidence on beam, so that you have no problems. And the problem with beam is we just literally have no confidence on it at all. Now, there's a root problem in that, and I'm just going to touch on this real fast, and that is because there's no confidence on floor. So because there is no confidence on floor, there really is no confidence on beam. But there's no confidence on floor because you really haven't done the trampoline probably enough to actually build confidence on floor. Most kids who struggle with flipping on bars is because they don't have enough numbers of flipping in their life. Like literally, if you have a problem with flyaways, just go flip more. In fact, learn how to do gainers. Learn how to do layout gainers. Learn how to do as many flips as you possibly can. Get the kid up to double backflips into a foam pit or someplace. And you're going to find that their confidence is going to increase, that it's not going to feel as scary. What I tell athletes, this is how I approach the conversation with athletes if you're dealing with mental blocks. I tell them this: if I can do a harder skill on floor, and then I go to beam and I try to do an easier skill, it's not going to feel as hard. But if I can only do an easy skill on floor and I try to put that same easy skill on beam, that easy skill is going to feel difficult. So use normal gymnastics language. If I can only handstand on floor and I try to take it to the beam, that handstand is going to feel very difficult. But if I can do a standing layout step out on floor and then I try to go do a handstand on beam, the handstand's not going to feel difficult. Because when you can do harder things, more difficult things on easier surfaces, it makes difficult surfaces become easier with easier things. There's a correlation there because it's confidence driven. How often do we take the kids' floor skills and try to put them on beam and run into a wall, a brick wall that we're trying to break through because there's no confidence, because they have fear and they can't make it happen? Oh, you learned a cartwheel on floor? Now stick it on a beam. Oh, crap, it doesn't happen. I don't know why. Well, you have it really good on floor. Why don't you have it on beam? Because you made the surface more difficult, thus increasing anxiety and fear, lack of confidence, because they don't actually have confidence on floor. What you need to do is get a person to be able to do cartwheel back tuck, cartwheel, layout step out, cartwheel something harder on floor. So when you go to the beam, they have no excuse, because you're like, yo, you can do harder things on floor. This is not that complicated. And it naturally will feel easier, because gymnastics works like this. Do really hard skills, and then easy skills feel even easier. The harder the skills you can do, the easier skills get even easier. What most people do not do is see that relationship. So they try to do skill for skill for skill for skill, and then they just hit plateau, hit a wall, and then they quit. If you were getting your kids on a trampoline and teaching them double backflips and back fulls and layout step outs and back whips and all sorts of other, kabooms and seat drop back fulls and all that stuff, if they had all that stuff on a trampoline, then they'd go over to another surface and they'd be like, it's not really that bad. I understand what I'm doing. I know my body well enough. I have confidence. And then they would correlate it. And so trampoline would correlate the confidence onto the floor, and then floor would correlate the confidence onto beam. Just like floor correlates the confidence onto vault, which is why most people are nervous about teaching Yurchenkos when they're new coaches, because they don't understand, because they don't know how to develop floor well enough to develop vault. And so then Yurchenko seems weird. And it's the reason why they struggle with front handsprings over a vault table. And they go, how do I get all this stuff? Because they don't know how to develop front tumbling on floor. If you can get a girl to do front tuck on floor, you're not going to have a front handspring vault problem. You just won't. If you have a girl doing front lay on floor, you definitely will not have a front handspring problem over vault. It'll just happen. And so half the time you're hitting these ceilings is because a lack of confidence. And the lack of confidence comes from lack of repetition in whatever it is you're trying to do. And then it also comes from not pushing harder and more difficult things. Notice those drills I gave, they had funny hand positions. It's going to challenge you to get upside down from a position that feels uncomfortable. But as you rep through that, it's going to make the skills actually become easier, because the drill that I just gave you, the progressionary step, in some regard is actually harder than the skill itself, but it allows you to get more repetitions in. Doing 10 in a row is harder than just doing one handstand. Doing 10 cartwheels from that position is harder than levering in and doing a cartwheel. And yet, because you're staying in that down position, there's more consistency, so you can get more reps in. So it's harder, more difficult in some regard, but it's also allows you to have more consistency because it forces you to stay in a position that you're going to fall less in. Your center of mass is lower. You have more control. Your hands are staying on the beam. You're not standing up. So it plays nicely with this story of building confidence. So there you go. There you have it. Have a great day. Everyone be blessed. Be awesome. Leave a comment. Tell me how this was helpful or not helpful, or how this was ridiculous, or how I'm super obnoxious. It doesn't really matter. I just love to get feedback from you that says, Raleigh, you suck, or Raleigh, you're amazing, or Raleigh, I'm indifferent to your entire channel. It's just fantastic to hear from you. It doesn't matter who you are. Remember, if you go look at my videos and you see how many comments I get, which is not a lot, and you see how many likes I get, I'm aware of that. I know that I'm really only speaking to 2 or 3 of you, maybe 4, maybe 5. I don't know, but it's not a lot. I'm making this channel for the 5 of you. So, I mean, again, you watch my video and you're like, all right, this dude is going to make a video for me. You can literally put in the comments and say, Raleigh, I want you to make a video on this subject. Or Raleigh, I do not understand this. Or Raleigh, make your videos shorter because I don't have the attention span to listen to them this long. I don't care because I'm literally making a video for you, the 5 of you, the 6 of you. Okay, so you give me information. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I have my gyms. I have my life. And this is now what I get to devote my time to. It's cool. It's great. I get to do this every single day. So what you want to hear, what you want to know, bam, you're the people. We're starting the little tiny small group of Gymnastics Change, and the 5 of us, the 4 or 6, whatever it is of us, are going to work together to see improvement, and then we're going to get 10, and then we're going to get 20 people, and then you people who started with me early on and started tracking my videos early, you're going to become the people that eventually will be brought onto my YouTube channel, and we'll be doing interviews and be saying, Raleigh, yes, I did your drill, and it worked so well, and I was beating my head against the wall, and now I'm not suffering with stupidity, and I actually am successful, and we're going to be like, that's so great and cool, and then other people will be like, man, I want to be like you. They're going to want to be like you with your success, because you're going to be going to competitions and your girl's going to be doing better, and you're going to not be stressed out, and you're not going to be burnt out, and they're not going to want to quit on you, and all the parents are going to be happy because you actually know what you're doing. And then you're going to be like, gee, this is easy. Now just money, 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 money. I have my nice life. I have my house. I have my dog. I have my nice car, whatever it is you're doing. I can eat healthy now because I can afford a lifestyle, so I don't have to eat top ramen. I ate rice and beans for 6 years. 6 years I ate rice and beans, no joke. Every single day, rice, beans, and a can of tomatoes, just so I could afford to get where I want to be in today's world. So I understand the struggle and the suffering. There you have it. Have a great day. I want to hear from you because you matter more than anything else than you realize. You really do. And you're making the impact on a daily basis in the lives of kids and in the lives of family and for the industry of gymnastics, which I believe gymnastics is one of the greatest sports, the greatest life experiences out there, because I think gymnastics makes you reconcile, like you really have to reconcile with reality. You cannot cheat gymnastics. It is reality right in your face. It is truth driven. It centers a person on what greatness really requires out of you. And I think if we could help people unlock that it's really not as difficult as you think it is, we just have to become more educated and less stubborn. Man, we could have so many people finding the greatness that they've got within them to be like, man, I actually do have super talents and I could actually build on this confidence and take it someplace. And so that's what we're doing. Build confidence. You need to have confidence. Your athletes need to have confidence, and you need to help me have confidence that this YouTube channel actually matters, because I don't know if it does. Whatever. Have a great day. Bye.